Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital. Dean, imagine that I put you into a situation that we gave you a set of tools or a systems as a director or as a business owner or as a sales manager or head of investment management, and you walked in and you said, okay, great, I'm now going to go and top grade my talent. Now, Brad Smart wrote a book on it called Top Grading, and the basic idea was that you got A graders and B graders and C graders, and an A grader is maybe someone you spend an hour with and you get like 3 months worth of productivity, and a B grader is maybe you spend an hour with them and you get a month's worth of productivity, and a C grader is that person that you spend an hour with them, man, you probably get an hour's worth of productivity. And it's an interesting thing. I had someone say the other day when I was talking to them about this, I said, hey, be careful, I was a C grader for 10 years. And then there was a moment that happened and all of a sudden I became a B and then I ended up becoming an A. So there's definitely a time scale to this, but I think it's about attitude. There's a thing about skill growth. There's about desire. There's about hunger, about being contributing to the culture of the business, learning the values, wanting to be there, showing up. All of those things are important. Dean, when you think about that, if you write out a list of every person inside of your organization and you just said, hey, gut feel right now, how am I feeling? Are they an A grader, a B grader, or a C grader? And is there any common traits to your A graders that's teachable to your Bs, that you can take Bs to As? And are there any Cs that literally with one conversation, I think you call them a come to Jesus moment, I think you referred to in the past, but is there a conversation that can be a life-changing conversation that can move them from C to B and then ultimately into an A? Or are they ultimately just not a great fit for the industry or not a great fit for your organization? Thoughts on using this as a manager or as a leader to just be a great little exercise to give you a bit of a visual on what you've got and then to work out how to shift that and shift it a little bit more so you can actually get better results?
Well, lots of questions there, Josh. Look, I think that there is a lot of value in this. And when I just listened to what you were saying, immediately I've got in my head, I'm ranking people A, B, and C because we know. I think as a leader, you know who's who and who fits in what box. Because because as a leader, our key primary function, in my view, is to maximise the development of the entire team.
Yes.
To their maximum potential, because and we've even said our vision is giving power to our team's purpose, right? Because that's ultimately, if we can unlock their potential, then everybody wins from that, right? So, if I think about you asked a question there, how do you know who's who? Well, I sort of define an A top performer as people who are exceeding expectations, right? And they're leaders of the business, and they really are self-motivated. They're really clear on goals. They're really clear on what they need to happen. They're very disciplined. They get in. They do the things that they need to do. It doesn't mean that those people don't need help, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
In fact, I found, if you can keep developing your A performers, they need to be, because they will get bored, they will get in their comfort zone, they will, become distracting for other people if they're not, challenged. So I find these people are not people to be worried about. They're people actually they want to have a hard conversation. They actually want some hard accountability. They actually want some strong leadership. Actually, it's because they want to be stretched. They want to be challenged, even though they might not seem like it, because they're often people that got big personalities and are quite strong and high performing.
Yeah.
But they're actually looking for professional development and advancement in some way, shape, or form, right? So if you've got those people in your business, my recommendation would be to challenge them, look for their opportunities, and then recognise them and reward them. We've put in place a number of high performer incentive programs over the years because we know that these things are important, because it's collegiate and they strive for it. There's a guy I met with this today, and he's like, mate, if I ever miss that trip, then I want you to sack me. He really has set it as a thing for him, as a piece of, I guess, achievement. That he actually makes that trip every year. And then when he goes, he said, mate, they changed my life. I love them. So to make these things aspirational, it's not just a trip away, but how do you do it so that something is quite special? And then how do you make sure you got leaderboards and do all those, and high performers like that. You take that out and there's something missing for them, and so you want to try and find a way to light them up. For me, a B player is someone who's a solid contributor, right? They might be setting the world on fire. They're not someone you've got to sort of, wrangle, but there's someone who's just a solid, consistent performer. These people, in my view, they just require a bit of coaching, right? They require, you to sit down and say, right, let's have a look at what your strengths and weaknesses are. These are the ones you've got to sort of pull it apart a little bit more.
And what I'd say is that their danger zones are often more conscious. So in other words, just before they go on holidays, they stop listing.
Yeah.
And then when they come back, they don't have listings.
Well, they might not have a big team or something.
Yeah.
They're sort of in that middle level of performance. So therefore, they oscillate with the ups and downs of the markets, and based upon how many listings they've got, whether they're prospecting or they're not, right? So there's a constant bit of work there to say, right, what is it we need to be working on with these guys and providing them some coaching and accountability. So that, this sort of person likes clear expectations, and really wants you to do not the thinking, but give them regular feedback on how they're going, and hold them accountable for it. So, so the real challenge here is to how do you encourage them to take on challenges themselves, and actually be self-motivated to take on those challenges, because they're the sort of ones that will probably just get in the comfort zone a little bit and not want to push too far outside of that. And perhaps they might have goal issues, they haven't set goals, or they've got self-belief issues or whatever. And so, one of your questions is, what do you do with these people who are C and sometimes B, to get them to go to the next level? And I think, you've got to be prepared to go there and have the conversation to sort of say, right, let's talk this through. But typically a B player will take on the feedback and do something about it. The C player, on the other hand, in my view, is, they're not meeting expectations, and
would you say disruptive?
They can be, yeah, and probably the noisiest ones are the ones that will complain about most stuff, and they take up a lot of time. So, you've got to address these guys, okay, because it becomes distracting and annoying for other people, and will actually pull down the level or the quality of your environment for people who are actually your A's and B's. And if you don't deal with the C's, the A's don't want to engage because they're just hearing the noise from the C's, right? So,
do you think the C's know they're a C?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe sometimes yes, sometimes no. But, these people, you've got to have some honest conversations with them, give them some feedback, right? I think sometimes you've got to be willing to listen to what are their challenges, right? And then, but it's also about saying, how do we develop some performance expectations with clear goals and timelines? Now, if they don't improve, first thing is I cut off coaching. So if I've got to sit there and I've got to waste my time and you want my coaching time, and we go down and I have to listen to all your stuff, and then we get really clear and say, right, and often there's an admission by them if you get to the heart of it around what's holding them back. It's often themselves, and they know this. And so, okay, cool. So let's be really clear here. Every time we get together and we have a meeting, you write lots of stuff down, but then you walk out of here and don't do anything about it.
Or even worse, they don't.
Yeah, or they don't write it down. and often they're distracted by something else. So it's like, what, I can see that you're doing, a dozen deals a year or whatever it might be. But sometimes there's a level of tolerance for that low level of performance, where really I think that if we're fair income is saying, well, I've got a few people in mind, to be honest with you, that I think I can't see a number of things. Firstly, they're not performing to the level that they should, maybe not aligned in terms of what our values and our vision are around behaviours, really not putting the effort in there. I look at it and go, I probably should just trim those people in 2024. As much as I don't like to do that, because I see the good in
Future
everyone.
But I
look at it and go, well, you're actually, you're not actually adding a lot of value to our business, despite the fact you're doing some deals, right? But ultimately, it's actually dragging the rest of the team down. So this is the team that you sort of got to, you got to listen to and identify. But I think that if you can't see that they're willing to make change to get to where you want them to get to, then you probably should think about trimming them.
You make me think about unconscious about the behaviour. Didn't even know that was a thing. Now really unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent. Now in a position that I'm consciously competent. Now moving in a position that I'm unconsciously competent. Where are they on that scale? I didn't even know that I didn't know. Now I know that I don't know. Now I'm actually thinking through the actions, and now I actually just do it on autopilot. And so if you don't know, that's okay. A little bit of ignorance, fine. But here's the training manual. Here's the training experience. Here's the video. Here's the book. Here's the thing to go and read. But if you don't pick it up and you don't read it and you don't do anything about it, then I don't want to keep pushing energy where I'm not going to get reward.
1,000%, because it just becomes excuses. And that takes away from the time that you can put into your A and B performers, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or into recruiting. Because you think you've got someone in a marketplace representing the business and the brand, then perhaps you don't feel you've got to go out and recruit a better performer because you've got the safety and security of someone already there. So that's part of the dilemma, is saying, well, I'm prepared to make the hard decisions, and then that puts energy and emphasis on making better ones, right? And going and trying to attract some new talent.
And I think the skill here is just to always make sure that literally you've got tools as a manager or as a leader, and the A, Bs and Cs is a great example of a tool. And if you actually go across that inside an organization, you say, okay, who's an A, who's a B, who's a C, and what would I do now to shift their performance in the course of the next 7 days, 14, 21, 28? And how do I be more human as a leader to actually help them to unlock that potential? If we do that, we completely change the game.